I'm a Tonechaser. That thing you hear in your head that you just can't quite get.
Kevin was a black guy.
Yeah, Kevin Ford. He was a great guy. He fucking whomped on that bass. The thing was that he was just not 100% into the whole situation. He liked being on stage and he liked playing, but he also liked drugs, which made him a very unpredictable character. But I still like him. He did have a fucking ballsy sound. That guy with that old Ampeg SVT.
Oh, that's what he played?
Yeah.
And a Fender bass?
I don't remember what kind of bass guitar he used, but I do remember when that guy hit a note, man, everybody in town knew it. And
was Edward singing?
yeah, Ed was the lead singer at that time, and things started to kind of build up, and I started to notice that Ed couldn't really take the chores of being lead singer.
You could tell.
Now again, I'm skipping around because I can't remember a certain chain of events. We had another bass guitarist. His name was Mark Stone.
Mark Stone.
And Mark also had a great sound, except he always hit the wrong notes.
This is still bald?
This was when we were Mammoth.
Mammoth.
Right.
So it's Genesis, Bald, Mammoth.
Correct. So when we were Mammoth, it was Ed, Mark Stone, and myself. And at a certain point, I just realized it was not happening that Ed was going to be the lead singer. It just didn't happen. You know, the power trio is fine, but it just wasn't entertaining. Yes, the music was great, but it just wasn't there. So we started looking around for a number of singers. We had one, Gary Booth.
Gary Booth.
God.
Not too good?
Well, he was a big guy, and he had a lot of gusto, but he couldn't sing for shit. And I'll never forget the first gig we ever did with him was a battle of the bands at some kind of a country club where 5 or 6 bands play, and you see who's supposedly the best one, which can be demoralizing because we were the best anyway.
You were?
Of course we were. The night of the show, Gary Booth comes walking up and he goes, I've got laryngitis, I can't sing. Bullshit, he had laryngitis. The guy was fucking scared out of his pants, which left it back up to Ed to go sing again.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Ed had to sing the Battle of the Bands.
Uh-huh. We didn't win. Didn't matter.
Do you remember what tunes you played?
We played songs like Crossroads, like Cream. I don't remember the particular tunes, but I remember, oh yeah, there was one by Creedence Clearwater that we played. There was one that we played by Zeppelin, and one by Grand Funk.
Really? What year is this? Or how old are you?
I was probably about 16.
16, so in the same period then.
Yeah.
What kind of guitar is Ed playing at this time?
Les Paul,
He is.
as far as I remember. See, Ed and I were very heavily influenced by Cream.
Cream was the model.
I would think so, yeah. Because we would like to play, jams, improv. We would improvise, but yet not to the point of, say, like a Yes or like somebody who goes off into strange meters.
Mm-hmm.
The beat was always there,
Mm-hmm.
but yet it was still improvising.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember countless clubs that we auditioned at. One that sticks out in particular, and again, I forgot the name of it, but Ed will remember, because the club owner came over and he said, "Hey man, we were in kind of a Mexican area, Hispanic area. He says, hey man, you stop playing so psychedelic on your guitar." Because at that time, all we were trying to do is get the people up on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you get them up on the dance floor, we would just sit there and connect songs up the butt so they wouldn't leave. Because it was funny the way it worked. People dance, they get thirsty. They get thirsty, they buy drinks. They buy drinks, the club owner makes money. See? They don't dance, they don't get thirsty, and the club owner doesn't make any money.
And the band
So it was
doesn't make
that
any
simple.
money.
See, we always thought that there was an artistic approach to the whole thing, that they would appreciate the music, but they didn't. They might have just as well had a tape recorder playing music. Sorry, a tape recorder playing music, and us just kind of playing air guitar or something, and they would have been probably happier. So, and then there came a time. Let's see.
We're at Genesis now.
We're
You're
at
16 years old. You've just played the Battle of the Bands. You're playing in clubs. with
no, the Battle of the Bands was Mammoth.
Mammoth. I'm sorry. Mammoth. Right, Mammoth.
Okay, things changed so rapidly at that time, between the time I was 16 to 20, that it's hard to really pinpoint what happened when. But there was a time. Okay, let's see.
You're still a three-piece now.
Yeah, we were a three-piece, and we didn't have any PA equipment. Now, there were about 2 or 3 bands in town who were basically, if you want to call them, rival bands.
And in town,
Roth,
you're talking about
yeah,
Pasadena?
Well, we couldn't afford to go any further.
Okay. Let me transgress for 1 second. You had moved into that original one-room place. You said you'd moved several more times. You had moved your house.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where did you move after the first place?
By the time this was going on, we were living in a 2-bedroom house. So Ed and I had a room together.
What was the address, you know?
1881 Las Lunas.
Las Lunas.
L-U-N-A-S.
L-O-S?
L-U-N-A-S.
Los is...
Oh, I'm sorry, L-A-S.
L-A-S, okay.
And, okay, well, Ed and I had been playing the schools and doing dances and et cetera, et cetera. And I can't remember who the hell the singer was. Maybe we didn't have one. Maybe that's why it sounded so good. Roth was in a what you call a rival band. He was in a band called Red Ball Jet. And Ed and I could not stand the motherfucker. We couldn't stand the band. We couldn't stand the music they were playing.
Do you remember the first time you and Edward saw him?
Not the exact first time, but I can vaguely remember getting into a riot. Here, check this out. We had a joker as a manager. We were playing a place called Hamilton Park.
I've heard of that place.
Which is north of Pasadena.
Right.
Anyway, the so-called manager.
What was his name?
His name was Bill Maxwell. And remember, we're all kids at this time, you know. None of us are probably old enough to wipe our noses by ourselves.
And the manager's a kid too.
Right. Bill Maxwell was a kid. He's younger than I was. Anyway, he got together with the people who organized these park concerts, and somewhere along the line, the park people got the impression that we were going to provide the staging, the lighting, you name it, everything, the power, so that everybody could play, right? Roth's band, which was called Red Ball Jet, was one of the bands that was going to play that evening. Another one was called Crystal Blue or something. Anyway, I drive up. I always like to get to a gig early because I like to set up my stuff and check it out and make sure that everything's working. And I come driving up, and the park head honcho comes walking over to me and he says, well, where is it? I said, where's what? You know, I'm looking down between my legs. And he said, well, you know, what the hell? He says, where's the stage? I said, stage? What stage? He says, where's the lighting? I said, lighting? What lighting? He said, where's the sound? I said, what sound? What are you talking about? So the rest of the band comes in, which is Mark Stone and Ed.
Right.
We come driving in, the three of us, and the guy says, well, where's all this stuff that your manager said was going to be here? And I said, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, pal. Yeah, here's my drums. I got my rug so I don't sit there and slide around on the pavement. He says, hey, wait a minute. This is bullshit. Forget it. You guys are not playing tonight. We said, fine. Kiss my booty. Bye. See you later. So we get back home. We have a couple beers. And when I was at that age, a couple beers really got me crocked. I was in a good mood, all right. I went back up there, and Red Ball Jet was playing. And I got bored with what the hell they were playing, so I walked up to the guitarist, and I kind of grabbed him by the scruff of the shirt. And I said, I think you fucking play like shit.
Did you really do that?
His name was Mark Kimura.
Mark Kimura.
And I went up there and I grabbed him, and I was gonna, I wasn't gonna hit him or anything. I just wanted to tell him, I think you play like shit.
I mean, you were just angry at the situation, not really with him in general, just
Yeah, well, a combination of both. But I think that most of it was with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I just told him, you guys sound like shit. So the park guy comes over, and he picks me up. And this guy was big. I mean, he was built like a shit house. I'm telling you, he was built like a brick shit house. He picked me up like this. He's got me up in the air. And I'm sitting there dangling with my feet and looking down on him. And he says, behave yourself and whatever else. Anyway, there were a lot of my friends were there. One of them who just got out of a mental institution who was carrying a knife. And he gets out there and he, starts approaching this guy with the knife in his hand.
Really?
Yeah. And things got completely blown out of proportion. Things just kind of generate. And so basically what we had on our hands is the full-scale riot. It took us all the diplomacy and all the calm talking to get this character to calm down and, take it easy. That's the first time I can remember actually ever having met Roth and his so-called band. There were a couple of nice guys in there.
Who else was in his band?
Danny Garcia.
What did he play?
Drums.
Drums.
Real nice guy. Miles Kimura was the bass player. Who's the other one I just mentioned? I forget his name now.
Kimura.
Yeah, there was Miles Kimura was the bass player, but there was brother played guitar. He's the one who I went up to.
Yeah, Mike. What you said it's on here.
Mark. I think it's Mark Kimura. Whatever.
And Dave.
And Dave.
Dave was just singing.
Yeah. Well, no, he wasn't just singing. If you want to call it singing.
What kind of tunes were they doing?
A lot of Rolling Stones. A lot of just real shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was crap. Anyway, there were a number of other bands who were rivals, if you want to call them that. Everybody trying to get a job.
Like who? Who were some of the bands around?
There was one that was called Colonel Savage.
Colonel Savage.
I think there was one called Atomic something. I don't know. Like I said, Crystal Blue or Crystal Blaze. Was it Crystal Haze? I don't know. There were just a number of bands, but the main one who was known around the neighborhood was Red Ball Jet.
What area was Dave from?
Pasadena. Rich section, Pasadena.
Rich section. Did he go to the same schools as you?
As a matter of fact, he went to one of the rougher schools in town.
Really?
He went to Muir High School.
Muir High School.
Which was a pretty rough school compared to where I went. I went to PHS, Pasadena High School, which is relatively mild compared to where he went.
But Dave's band did have a name as one of the...
Yeah, to a certain extent. But anyways, as things moved along, again, like I said, I realized that Ed could not be the front man as far as singing. When Red Ball Jet was out of work, when they didn't have a gig, I would approach Roth and ask him, we'd like to rent your PA. And he would rent it to us. Give him $10, which at that time, again, was a lot of money for us. Rent, for $10. And this went on for a few months. And eventually I just said to Ed, look, you're not really capable of being the front man and singer. You're not who's the guy from Grand Funk? Mark Farner. He can't play. He can move around and he can be energetic, but he can't play. Anyway, I thought it was better for Ed to concentrate on playing and to have a front man as a singer.
What did Ed feel about that?
At that point, we were really just open to any suggestion at all. So I said, Ed, rather than paying Roth this $10 every time he rent his stuff, why not just get him in the band and we won't have to pay him $10, and we'll have a lead singer. Because he was, at that time, a very cocky, well, let's just say he was a front man. I mean, out of all of us, he was the only one who had chest hair. He had long blonde hair, and he walked around with a certain confidence that was good, I felt. And I figured that his singing would improve as the years went along. Because I'll tell you, that guy couldn't sing for shit.
He didn't like his voice.
Oh, no, I'm telling you, he couldn't sing for shit. No, seriously. He was good at one thing, and that was doing real low-key ballads, but it wears thin. It's like, what's that song? Big Bad Bill or something. I don't know, things like that. He could do that very well. But when it came to actual singing, he couldn't. So he compensated for it by being the outspoken, loudmouth, different looking person than anybody else. I mean, he was, I gotta hand it to him, he was rather unique. I mean, he wore clothes that people would never even think of wearing.
Well, what did he wear?
Well, for that time it was racy. It was, he would wear skin-tight pants that he would find in Hollywood. You know, Hollywood at that time for us was like, oh my God, Hollywood, Jesus Christ. He would wear the platforms. You know,
Really?
5-6 inch platforms. get the screwball haircut. You know, make yourself look like David Bowie.
He really would do that, huh?
Oh yeah. Actually, I got pictures that document the whole damn thing. And like I said, he did have a way with his, how can I say, his persona.
Right, his demeanor.
Yeah, right. Which in the end, after 11 years of working with him, turned out to not be the right move. Because he may sit there and stroke his ego and may come across as that. But I can tell you, every business deal that he has ever instigated or been involved with has been a disaster. A financial and artistic disaster. And you can print that.
Okay. So
we got him in the band.
Was it you, or was it you and Edward saying, "Listen, Dave, why don't you come play in the band?" Or I mean, did he know who you guys were? Mammoth at this time?
Yeah, we were Mammoth
Still
at that
Mammoth?
time. Yes.
In other words, did he know Mammoth? Did he say, "Well," I mean, what was your reaction?
Well, the first thing was that, like I said, Ed and I decided that we should have a lead singer. At this time, this happened. Mark Stone was bass player, Ed guitarist, and I was playing the drums.
Right.
So we're looking for a singer. We've gone through a number of other people, which really will remain faceless and nameless because they're so minuscule.
Really, you don't want to name any of them?
Well, there weren't. Mark Stone's brother sang for one gig. You know, I can say Brad
Stone.
I can tell you stories about this thing because the thing was, what it basically amounts to, Ed wanted to play guitar. I wanted to have a band, and I also realized that you can't get by just on music alone. So Ed would sit there and we'd lay all the responsibility on me. I'll never forget, Brad Stone comes in to sing, right? He had a great voice. He was trained as an operatic type singer. But rock and roll, he definitely wasn't. I thought, let's give him a shot. You know, what the hell? Mark Stone, the bass player at that time, said, "Al, you're making a mistake. Don't do it." They said, "Come on, we got to try something." So Brad comes in, and he rehearsed for about a couple of weeks or so. Got a big gig coming up. You know. And in the end, right before the gig, I said, "Look, Brad, now listen, check this out. I'm standing there, and I got to talk to this guy, right?" Ed and Mark conveniently leave the room, and I'll never forget Ed's look. I'll never forget the look on Ed's face. As he's shutting the door, he's looking at me like this going,
Like
leave it up to me. So I tell the guy, I said, "Look, Brad, I don't think this is working out." Now, I guess apparently this gig meant a big deal to him, and he said, he actually almost started crying. He said to me, "You mean all this work I've done has been in vain?" He was one of those intellectuals. And I said, "Okay, Brad, I'll tell you what. You sing this one thing, but after that, I'm telling you, we got to do something different." Anyway, I told you, I didn't want to get into different singers because the line goes on endlessly.
Just give me a few more names of guys that stick out in your mind.
Gordon, who thought he was Robert Plant.
What was his last name?
I don't remember. He was one of the first singers. Mark recruited him. God, who were some of the other gweeds? But like I said, Booth, Gary Booth was one.
Did you have an idea of what type of singer you were looking for? Ed, let me backtrack. What kind of a voice did Ed have? What was Ed like as a singer?
He was good, but it was our feeling, you know, Ed and my feeling that he should concentrate on playing guitar.
Right.
To be a good singer, you have to concentrate on being a singer.
Right.
And it did not come very naturally to Ed.
It didn't.
And Ed was definitely not a showman.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I had to practically. Ed and I have gotten into numerous fist fights for me telling him, you know, move, do something. Because if you look at our early days, I'll tell you, Ed did not move one bit.
Really?
He was just like Eric. He was just like Eric Clapton. He would sit there and he would play. The guy made genius music, but the audience, first of all, didn't really realize it, and there was nothing visual going on. And that's how we finally ended up with Roth, because Roth was all visual. I mean, he'd be moving around a little bit, and even that took some prompting. I mean, originally he stood there, and just the very presence, just to look at this weird, strangely dressed person, or at least not strange, well, not strangely, but different from the norm, would be enough to keep people's interest.
So,
because we had the music to back it up. We had the music to back it up, and he had the mouth. So
right. So you'd gone through various singers. You guys approached Dave.
right. So we had Roth audition, and we're in the living room of my parents' house. They didn't like the fact that we had all those amplifiers in there because my father wouldn't be able to watch TV.
That's where you auditioned in the living room?
That's where we played and practiced. It's the only place that was big enough. My dad didn't like that a whole lot.
So what, you called up Dave, said, Dave, listen, you want to come over and audition? I mean, I
said, Dave, you know, let's get together and let's make some music. So he came in, and I was completely, thoroughly appalled. I was so disappointed. Really? And again, Ed pulled the same routine. He and Mark left the room, and I'm sitting there holding the bag. I'm the one who has to sit there and tell Roth that, forget it, pal, this ain't no good. Well, I figured I'd give him another shot. I said, why don't you take these songs, listen to them, and then in a week, after you've worked on them, come on back.
Right.
And, well, we'll take it from there.
Right.
So a week later, thing comes back, and it sounded like pure hell, man. Timing was completely off. The intonation was completely out of whack. It was an abysmal failure.
Do you remember what songs you auditioned on?
The one I do remember was Still Alive and Well.
Really?
And that's the only one that sticks out in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I don't remember the rest of them, but I do remember Still Alive and Well, you know, by the old Winter Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad.
Did Ed sense that it was bad?
I wasn't really paying attention to what Ed was paying attention to. Mm-hmm. I was just listening to the whole thing, and from square one, I can honestly say I was very disappointed, and I said sorry, man. See you later.
Really? I mean, you said no. He didn't make the audition.
Right. And he walked off in a huff and a puff, and that was it.
I mean, in your heart, though, you wanted it to work.
Yes,
I mean, you didn't really have any preconceived ideas about the guy because of the way he looked or things. You wanted it.
No, I wanted it to work. And on top of that, like I said, he had a PA, which was a very expensive commodity in those days.
You don't have an idea what kind of PA it was, do you?
It was a acoustic. An acoustic 850.
Yeah, they were great. For that time, that was
It was an acoustic 850, 8-channel board.
Wow.
And
his dad had money and helped find.
Well, I don't know where he got it. I didn't bother to ask.
Do you have any idea, Alex, what time we're talking about here? Year or month?
This was basically when we were starting to play the heavy-duty high school dance circuit, if you want to call it that. Again, eventually, we did get together with Roth.
Okay, so don't. This is an important part right here. So he said no, and Dave's
and he split.
And what happened?
We were back in the same rut. No singer, nobody out front. So I thought I'd give it one more shot. Then I went down to Roth's house, and he started singing me some acoustic stuff, and his voice sounded very good. After which, I said, okay, let's give it one more shot. So we got together. From the very beginning, the guy was being cocky, you know. He says, yeah, well, you know, I'll join this band, but, man, you guys better learn how to dress.
Then he was saying that?
Roth was saying that.
Yeah, right.
And I said, well, okay, you know, I'll give it a shot. What the hell? Because we ain't getting nowhere the way we're doing it now. You know, and especially at that age, we couldn't get into clubs. We had to always lie about our age because there's a 21-year drinking bullshit, you know, the ABC. So I figured, what the hell? So we gave it one more shot, and I wasn't very happy with it in the beginning, and I was even less happy with it later on.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, the guy did have a certain presence, and after auditioning at numerous clubs, I'd say at least 50, we finally landed a gig. We went to clubs twice sometimes.
Really? What do you know some of the names of them?
Sure. Gazzari's, we auditioned twice. The Starwood, we auditioned a couple times. Walter Mitty's, Boomers, the Rock Corporation, Barnacle Bills, well, you name it. You
Okay.
name any club that was around that time, we were there.
Okay, now, so Dave is basically in the band at this point.
Dave was in the band this
And
time,
Mark is still playing bass.
and Mark is still playing bass.
And the band is called
The band is called Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Yes.
When did the change come? How and why?
The change came the moment that Roth joined the band. We figured we needed a new name, and it was Roth's idea
It was
to name it
Dave's
Van
idea.
Halen. Yeah, I actually almost felt like saying no because I didn't want to be conceited. But again, like I said, his presence and his personality, something about it. He had a good way of presenting the whole thing. He said, "Look, Van Halen sounds nice. It's different. It's your last name, and it can be a good band name." And so we decided to go with that.
Wait, was Rat Salad actually a name up for...
Rat Salad was one of the few names that we used when we used to get kicked out of high school gigs.
You actually performed as Rat Salad for a while?
No. We performed once as the Space Brothers. We had so many names, it just... Let me try to remember. See, what happened was the people who used to follow us around, our friends, were heavily into drinking and partying, which is not very conducive to playing at a Catholic all-boys school where they have to import the females so the guys can dance. So they don't sit there and dance with a bunch of faggots, you know what I mean? And there would be, what do you call them? Not nuns, the male...
Sisters?
No,
Oh,
the male counterpart.
The,
brothers, I guess they would call them, or whatever.
uh-huh.
And they would have those guys walking around, they're like monks, you know, they walk around with the hood and the garb and whatever. And if somebody so much as even smelled like beer, they would kick them out. Well, all our friends smelled like beer, and they didn't like being kicked out. So no matter where we went, we would end up in some kind of an altercation.
Really?
Whether it be with the law, or whether it be with the school, whether it be with whatever. You know, we one time were taken to court by, we were playing at an all-girls school
What was
where
it
they
called?
have to
You know?
import the girls, the boys. Hell, it's right down. I'll get all the names for you.
Okay.
Write that stuff down, I'll remember.
Okay.
But we were playing at this all-girls school, and when it was time to collect our money, which was a big $150, they refused to pay us because they said that they smelled pot on stage.
Was there pot on stage?
Not that I know of. There may have been. I don't pay attention to that shit. I'm busy playing.
Right.
There probably was, but who cares? What the hell?
Right.
So anyway, they didn't pay us, so we figured, well, this stuff, this is bullshit. So we took them to small claims court. So we had a subpoena for the head of the school and the nuns who sat there and made the allegations that there was pot in the room. We get to small claims court. Now I haven't worn a suit probably in about 15 years. Finally I put on a suit and we're all cool and
Was
dressed.
Edward there?
Yeah, Eddie was in the audience, if you want to call it that. Roth and I were the ones who were standing out front. And I'll never forget, the judge I'm trying to make the story short because there
No,
were other...
So,
The judge asks the defendant, who is the nun, who is on the stand. He says, why aren't you paying these people? They did their job.
right.
And she says, well, I smelled pot coming from the stage. And the judge was kind of giggling, and he looks over at the nun, and she says, well, do you smoke pot? Do you smoke pot? And she says, no. He says, well, how the hell do you know what it smells like? And she's sitting there with her finger up her nose, not knowing what to say. And I'm just sitting there, I'm laughing my fucking head off, man. The judge says, judgment for the plaintiff, and they had to pay the $150.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Sacred Mary or something. I don't know what the hell the name of the school was.
So this is this with Dave?
Yeah, this is with Dave. This is with Dave and Mark. And at that time, if I remember correctly, we had a keyboard player whose name was Jim Pewsey.
Pewsey.
Pewsey. And
when did that happen?
okay, we started to expand our repertoire, so to speak. Ed and I had always been playing jams, heavy-duty stuff like Black Sabbath, Cream, and just full blaze out whatever. And we realized that at a certain time, if you want to get a job at a club, you're going to have to do more cover tunes.
Right.
It was difficult to do with the instrumentation we had, so we decided to get a keyboard player. Now, I'm trying to remember whether it was Pewsey who was before or after Roth joined. As a matter of fact, I think Pewsey was with us before Roth came into the picture.
Really?
Yeah. I think Ed could probably have a better handle on that. I think Pewsey was with us before. But anyway, so we had him as a keyboard player, and well, again, things just didn't work out.
Really? How long did he last then?
About a year, I think.
A year.
He was an extremely gifted musician, but he got the strangest sound out of his keyboards. I mean, this guy had perfect pitch. If you played him something, he could play it from memory instantly. You play him the most difficult Keith Emerson lick, and this guy could do it.
So what kinds of tunes did you guys start working on now that you had a keyboard player? Different kinds of...
things like Free Ride.
Mm-hmm.
Things like Santana was a dun 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 dun.
Like up the first album and stuff?
Yeah. What was it called?
Soul Experience.
Right. The one with the drum solo in it.
Soul Experience.
That wasn't the name of the song.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Okay.
I know
Well,
exactly
just things like that. Anything that the keyboard could help. We went into, started playing a bit of Elton John stuff like Saturday. You know, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting.
Really?
That type of shit.
What?
Smoke on the Water. Well, just anything that we normally didn't have the instrumentation to do.
Did he sing?
No.
No sing.
No.
Do you remember what kind of keyboards he used at all?
Yeah, Farfisa.
Farfisa.
Through a Leslie, whatever you call it, those
right.
Leslie speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got on my nerves after a while. The guy was a real nice guy, and he was a good musician, but I don't think his heart was into the band.
Really?
I think he was more interested in cars, and, well, like I said, things just didn't work out. For instance, we used to play, I'll never forget, we played a party one time, just a small party, and we were blazing, having a great time. And he got very offended when I asked him, I said, please lay out of this song. It was superstitious, very superstitious. We did it the Beck Bogart, the Beck way. And I said, please just, don't play in this. And if I remember correctly, it was the 4th of July, and we were all, no wait, I'm sorry, it was Halloween. And we were all dressed up in funny clothes and the whole bullshit. He had his face all painted like a piano keyboard. I mean, the guy looked great. It was funny as shit. But when I asked him to lay out of the song, he got kind of pissy with me. So Ed and I started playing the song, and I look over, and there is Jim Pewsey feigning sleep. He's faking it. He's going like this. Now, I don't need to deal with babies like that, you know? I just asked you to sit out the doggone song, that's all. Because that Farfisa sound was not conducive to hard rock.
No. Yeah. So he was in the band for a year.
He was in the band for about a year.
Can you give me an idea of what year we're talking about?
You'll have to ask Ed again.
Okay.
I don't remember all these years, man.
Okay. So he's in the band for a year. He's in the band before Dave.
Right.
But you had been playing under. You mentioned the Space Brothers. You'd go out and play under various names.
Yeah.
At this period.
Because they. What we basically did is we hustled the guys, you know, to get the people over to listen to the band for their dance or their prom or whatever.
Right.
And the name Mammoth, I guess at that time, was just a no-no. So we would just use different names. Ed came up with the name Space Brothers, and we played a few gigs as the Space Brothers.
So basically, the moment when Dave joined, it became Van Halen.
Right. And it was Mark Stone who designed the original logo.
It was.
Not the one that we have now. You never saw the original.
The original.
It was weird. It had balls hanging on it, and it was weird.
Really?
Yeah.
You have a picture of that somewhere?
Yeah, probably.
That'd be great to see.
The one we have now was designed by I think his name was David Chen or Chen. I don't know. I forget the guy's name.
What was an actual designer?
He was a paid artist who was sublet, or whatever you call it, through Warner Brothers, who came up with the original design. So anyway, as we're moving along...
You want to take 5 minutes here?
Yeah.
This is a good place to break right here. Broken Combs 6th grade. Now, there must have been bands between Broken Combs and Genesis.
Yeah, Sounds of Las Vegas
Sounds Las Vegas.
was in between that. There was Ed on guitar, Jimmy Wright on bass guitar. I was playing drums. And for a while we had a singer named Danny Gilliland.
Gilliland.
Yeah, was it Gilliland or Gillan? No, it was Gilliland. And, you know, even at that stage of the game, I think I must have been about 11 years old or so. I was in about 6th grade. Ed had an amplifier that had a short in the back of it, and when you twist the knob or twist the input,
Right.
It would short out.
Right.
Hi, Ed.
How you doing?
It would short out. And I just told Danny, look, when this thing happens, when it freaks out like that, just lay down on your back and pretend like you're some kind of a spastic. No, I'm serious. Pretend like you got epilepsy or something. Just roll around and do whatever you know to make it interesting. While Ed's trying to fix the doggone thing. He said, no, I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. So I said, bye, your history. And that was it.
Can you sense in Edward more of a command of the instrument he's playing? I mean, through, I guess, more like the Genesis. I mean, can you sense?
I sensed from the very beginning that Ed was cleaner, he was more accurate, he had more feeling, the nuances, the phrasing, the whole thing. Just Ed had he has a magic touch on that doggone thing. I don't know where it comes from, I don't know what kind of pills you got to take to get it, but he's got it. And that's why I gave up guitar, because I knew I didn't have it. I can do it on drums, but I can't do it on guitar. I don't have the manual dexterity that he has. This guy can blaze all over the place, but at the same time he can play something very simple and quiet, and it still has a certain feeling to it.
Right. Could you sense that people were responding to his playing at all? Could you sense him being singled out in any way, or?
I think in the beginning it took a long time to convince people. I think they were just, here's another hard rock guitar player, here's another loud noise person, here's another this. Like I told you before, you know, one of the club owners actually said, hey, stop playing so psychedelic. I'll never forget, Ed and I played a gig with Mark at a place my father was playing, my dad said, you guys come down, you know, you'll make $15, and what the heck. So we go down there and we play, and the club owner comes over and he tells Ed to put his amplifiers down, face down into the ground, because he was playing so loud. And the only way Ed could get the tone and the distortion and whatever else that makes that sound come out of that box to get that is to overdrive the amp.
Right.
If he would have turned it down, he would have sounded like Mantovani.
Right.
So he faced the thing down, and then we get kicked out afterwards anyway. My dad was afraid that he might have lost the job as well.
So Dave is in the band, and Mark Stone is still on bass, and the band is called Van Halen.
Correct.
You're playing various clubs in Pasadena.
No, we weren't playing clubs.
You weren't doing clubs?
No, no, no. We were too young.
You were auditioning for clubs?
You were auditioning, but they would kick us out, first of all, of age, secondly, of noise, thirdly, of... See, I'll never forget, when we went to, the first time we auditioned at Gazzari's, they said, man, you guys look like you come out of Hicksville. Because I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. You know, so what? You don't like it? Fuck you. On top of that, they told us to turn down 5 times, and then they kicked us out. Because they used to have, it was like almost like a cattle call for models, you know. Well, this is a cattle call for musicians. 5 bands will be lined up.
Right.
You got 5 minutes to set up your equipment and then start playing, pal. Well, anyway, so they kicked us out. So we tried a club in Pasadena, and one time it's called the Handlebar Saloon. We go in there, I'll never forget, it was an afternoon, and they're looking at us kind of funny, because we had put on different clothes, and he said, man, you guys look too Hollywood. And I said, oh, man. You know, in Hollywood we look too much Pasadena, and in Pasadena we look too Hollywood. Well, we auditioned there, I think, with Roth 2 times, and before that, before he was in the band, we auditioned once. Never got the job. That's why the constant name change, you know, because they get so many bands that come in there that if you just change the name, they won't know who the hell they're talking to.
Right.
So we never got that one either. But eventually we landed a job at Gazzari's, and over the years, we almost became like the house band. And it was funny because after all the years that we played there, I could never figure out why Bill Gazzari called Dave Van. He'd say, hey, Van, here's a couple extra dollars for you. He never knew that his name was Dave. He thought his name was Van Halen, like in Van Morrison. You know, Dave even at that time was sitting there laughing his head off. He said, why the fuck does he keep calling me Van?
Prior to Gazzari's, though, you guys were playing backyard parties and beer bus and things like that. This is with Dave?
Right.
And Mark still?
Right.
And you're called Van Halen?
Right. We played all the parties we could rustle up, and
I mean, how did that happen? I mean, I know you guys would have like 1,000 people in somebody's backyard. Where did the name come from? How did people start knowing that Van Halen on a Friday night at a party was the place to be?
It wasn't an overnight thing. It was just basically a gradual building up, and I really can't pinpoint exactly when it started to happen. But anytime somebody had a party, they would ask Ed or Dave or me, why don't you guys come on down and play? And we'd do it for free. No big deal. I think the most we ever got paid for a party was probably $100. And that was when I'll never forget it. We played for 2,000 kids right there. Get $100. Here's the guy at the house, and he's, you know, charging $1 a person to get in, cleaning up, and we're sitting there with $100. At that time, it just really didn't matter to us. If we had enough money to pay for gas, drumsticks, drum heads, guitar strings, you name it, we went out and did it. And it was a lot of fun.
They told me that you used to have like sirens, you used to have horns, or car horns, or you had guys who had lights when you were playing these backyard
parties. Oh yeah,
well
the horns, as a matter of fact, are on the first record, on Van Halen 1. It's the beginning of Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
I got about 20 car horns, and just I'd stomp on them at a certain point in time. Just anything to make noise, anything to be different. And so we used it on the record. Ted Templeman liked it, and all he did was he recorded it and then gradually slowed it down.
Oh.
And that's why he goes, yeah.
Ed is still playing his Les Paul?
Not that I know of. I think he's really grown attached to that one cheap piece of wood guitar that he originally made. He was one with the red lines and the green or whatever. You taking off already?
Yeah, you're busy. That's all right.
Send me.
The guitar. You want to take a break? You get
Yeah,
the
sure. Quick question. It really brings back memories.
You can get a hold of me on my Instagram page anytime, steve.rosen.guitar.pics. Or you can check me out on Facebook. I think if you type in Steve Rosen Tonechaser, you'll find me there. Okay, bye.